Mkhwebane has a list of demands that she's made when releasing a recording she claims contains bribery allegations against members of the Section 194 inquiry. The suspended public protector says she wants those implicated in soliciting a bribe from her husband to be charged. She also wants President Cyril Ramaphosa to be called to account for abuse of power for suspending her and the release of the Phala Phala report by the 7th of July. The media was not spared, accused of working with the DA and President Cyril Ramaphosa to discredit her. To get more reaction, I'm now joined by Gule. He's a former government contractor who remains unpaid for his work. You also do work for Outer, Mr. Gule, but in this instance you're speaking to us in your capacity as a government contractor. You're raising concerns about the amount of time spent by suspended public protector Busisiwe Mkhwebane serving the interests of ordinary South Africans at grassroots level, or the lack of time, should I say, while she's been seemingly focused much of her time on defending herself and her actions in court. And that's not just in relation to the inquiry into her fitness to hold office, but various of her judgments during her term. She's had to defend those in court. Give us a little bit more context to these concerns of yours.
Good evening, and thanks for having me. That is exactly what I'm saying. You must have heard today she awarded herself 9 out of 10 performance. And I think it's just the opposite, 1 out of 10, because she spent almost most of her time defending herself, wrangled in political affairs, and public protector should be just doing that, protecting the public. Our case that emanates from a project that we did in Springs 19 years ago today remains unpaid. And when she started her term, Thuli Madonsela had completed our case in her latter part of the term. All what was expected from Busisiwe Mkhwebane is to implement the verdict of Thuli Madonsela. Before we contacted her, her office contacted us because they had our case in front of them. Needless to say, that case has not been resolved. All what was expected from her is to make the government comply with the verdict of Thuli Madonsela, and she hasn't done that. And we are worried that people at grassroots level like ourselves were never given an attention. It was about her and her political wrangles and shenanigans.
What's the impact on the people on the ground? For you as an unpaid government contractor, for some of the people involved in your case and others that you've come into contact with who've seemingly had no access to justice, how are their lives impacted by this lack of service?
It's so bad that amongst myself, we have already lost 3 lives because of this case. One lady who was a single mom collapsed outside the court when we could not raise enough funds to take government to court for the advocate. She collapsed outside the court and subsequently at a later stage passed away. 2 of my members died due to depression. 1 surviving member is suicidal as we speak. The office of the president was made aware. All what we received then from the spokesperson, Zizi Goda was still a spokesperson at that time, was words of consolation. But the problem is, if people on the ground are suffering when public protectors should be protecting them, I think she dropped the ball big times. And end of October is the end of her term. She has done absolutely nothing for the people on the ground. Hopefully the next public protector won't be involved in other things other than what she is appointed to do. It's been very bad, and I don't know where she gets the 9 out of 10 passing rate for herself. We're still puzzled.
So the inquiry into her fitness to hold office is an attempt to hold her accountable for what you term and many other people have highlighted as a lack of service to the people of South Africa. But that inquiry has been dealt another blow today, facing another challenge in the fact that the suspended public protector has released audio recordings related to a bribe attempt. Now, the question we must ask ourselves as well is, where the accountability lies in terms of bringing this charge of bribery to light. And I want to hear your thoughts on today's proceedings and the information that's come to light and it's been shared so widely in the media throughout the day about, the interactions between her husband and allegedly Antina Jumat-Peterson, saying that, they would pay her, or they would request 600,000 rand in order for this impeachment inquiry to be delayed to such a point that it would not be able to impeach her before October when her term ends.
Look, fortunately, I've watched all the live interview from herself today. Everything today was about herself, her husband, the family, and that typifies her term for the almost past 6 years. When is she going to start to talk about the people expecting service from her? Whether the bribe, the attempted bribe is there or not, that does not help the people on the ground. The people on the ground, people like myself, who are still sitting with a lot of debts, were expecting service delivery from her, protection from her, from abuse of power of certain government officials, because we've presented all the documents. The houses that we've built, people are still occupying those houses, were built up to the specs, were built perfectly. And the government did not pay us. When the government did not pay us, we resorted to the public protector's office for mediation.
And unfortunately, she has not been able to offer you any assistance. I do apologize. Unfortunately, we have run out of time there. But thank you very much for engaging with us this evening. That was Ali Gule. He's a former government contractor who remains unpaid for his work.